So it's always difficult when you start off on a YouTube channel, especially one with navigation, on what to do for content. So as I'm walking and thinking, I think my first focus today for this first instructional video will be on cardinal direction and how a compass works and interfaces for those of you who haven't had the training on the compasses. The difference between a good trip and a real adventure often comes down to one thing: knowing where to go and knowing how to get there. Navigation creates freedom. Welcome back to Waypoint ADV-USA. I'm Tom Powell, and today we're going to go over the basics of cardinal direction, how cardinal direction relates to a compass rose, how that compass rose fits within a 360-degree circle, and how that 360-degree circle relates to an actual compass. With all those parts, they're the fundamental building blocks of directional understanding with maps and where you are in any given spot on Earth. When you're looking at maps, it can be difficult to look at terrain and figure out what matches what. And so by learning the basics through the navigation component of the cardinal directions and how it relates into the three items I just mentioned, it will help build not only a solid foundation for your understanding, but it will also let you speak the same language and vocabulary that the maps are using, or anything else that you're using within books or within any other YouTube videos that you're watching to try and gain good knowledge for basic understanding of navigation, whether it be overlanding, whether you're trying to figure out how to get around a big city, whether you're out in the middle of nowhere in Nevada desert, things like that. And so anyway, stick around. We've got a lot of good information for you, and we're going to get started. So you'll notice that today we're working with what's called a compass rose. The compass rose is this big device right here that is a circle with what appears to be a cross or a star in the middle. It is historically very old. It has been used across the centuries on lots of maps. I'm sure you've seen it on maps before. And it lays out the direction grid, or not the grid, but the direction of north, and of course the subsequent cardinal directions. Speaking of the cardinal directions, we have all four of them here: north, we have south, we have east, and of course west. For those of you that are fairly new with directions, when you're looking north and your bearing is north, and we'll go over how to find north later. You basically, as you're standing north, you can look to your immediate right, you'll see east. You'll look to your immediate left, you'll see west, and then directly behind you, you'll see south. The compass rose is laid out as it is in order to match compass degrees, which is a 360-degree circle. As you know from geometry, it goes around where you start at 360 on top and you come around to 360 again. So basically it's 0 to 360 is what it is. And so you'll notice right here we have some marks that look like they're empty. And I'm going to show you in this next slide what that looks like, so we can get a little more detailed and a little more exact with regard to our directions. So real quick, this next slide is very similar to the previous slide, with the exception of we have now added several directional areas. You'll see northwest here between north and west. It makes logical sense. It's northwest. You've got between west and south, or between south and west, you have, you guessed it, southwest. Same thing goes for southeast, same thing goes for northeast. It's just a little more dialed in component as far as what your bearings might look like if you're referencing something similar to this. So that is basically a compass rose and the four cardinal directions with the intermediary directions thrown in between them. The important takeaway here is that you have 4 cardinal directions that you can work from, and that the compass rose is an icon. It's not used for basically dead reckoning with regard to using maps or using any sort of directional assistance. It's a picture that is stamped on paperwork, i.e. a map, that allows you to understand where the directions are for any given map. So now when we look at another diagram, what we're looking at is a 360-degree circle, excuse me, like we talked about before. And you'll notice this time that not only do we have degrees, you'll see them right here. Okay, you've got your 10 degrees, 90, 180, 270, and basically they follow in line with cardinal directions. So north is at 0 or 360. Then if you roll over to the east, you're at 90 degrees. Okay, you drop down, and I'm sorry this picture's in the way. You drop down and you're at 180 degrees south, 270 west. And so those are broken down into infinite amounts of degrees, as small as you want to get it. And so if you're looking at northwest, you're looking at roughly 315 degrees-ish right here. Now that's not exact, so please don't quote me on that. Northwest is exactly 315 degrees. You'll forgive my error. Fairly new to video making. Okay, but it does give you an idea of what you're looking at. All right, we're looking at the northeast section. You're looking at approximately 45 degrees, and so on and so forth. And so the whole reason the compass rose exists is to stamp on a map how to move forward when looking at a picture of all of the continents or your region. You can see behind me with these maps here, there is a compass rose stamped at the bottom that shows that north is up, and that's what it's for. So when you're utilizing the next step in the phase of directions, which is this circle that you're seeing, it basically moves forward with allowing you to add degrees to it. So you know you're moving north, but it may be 10 degrees of north, it may be 10 degrees short of north, and that's important when you start very, very detailed and long distance navigation. All that we'll go over later in all of these tutorials, but for right now, those are the basics, and that's what I want you to take away from this. I would also like to show you now a set of compasses, or 2 different types, and how those look in conjunction with this particular diagram, as well as the compass rose. All right, welcome back. What we are looking at on screen right now is a compass. Specifically, this is the compass that's known as a sighting compass or a mirrored compass. You'll notice that there's a 360-degree circle right here. There is a mirror right here, thus the mirrored compass component. And then there's lots of calculation information right here, which we'll go over later. Right now, what I want to show you that lines up with what we've been talking about is a 360-degree circle, okay, which also matches what we find in the compass rose. All right, notice that we're pointing north right here. We're at the north side. Okay, there's east, there's west, and there's south. Okay, if we're aligned magnetic north. Now, what's interesting is this part right here around the edge, the collar of the circle is known as a bezel, B-E-Z-L. All right, and this one twists, okay? So you're able to align it. Take a note, you've got your needle right here, all right, and you have your north right here. You can turn that off and have it going a different direction. It doesn't mean that the magnetic north needle goes anywhere else. It just means that you're able to turn this to calculate some different numbers that we'll go over later. Main thing to do right now is to align it with north. So you've got yourself your magnetic north needle to north, all right? And so when you're looking, you now can see that, oh, hey, if I'm traveling directly on the northern side, if I look left, okay, I see east. If I look right, okay, I see west. I have that backwards. I'm sorry. If I look right, I see east. If I look, I see west. And then right behind me, directly behind me, is 180 degrees. It's south. Again, the degrees line up. Okay, if you're going east, you're at 90 degrees. If you're going west, you're over at 270 degrees. And so it all lines up. The compass rose gives you the correct directions. The 360-degree circle, the basis for our understanding, is in place, and it's transferred onto this compass. And this is where you start your walking the correct direction based on degrees of travel. We'll go over more of that later. I just wanted to give you the basics on this for now. All right. Now, if we take this compass and switch it out, notice it folds shut with the mirror. All right. The next one I'm going to show you is known as, this next compass here is known as a lensatic compass. It is used in varying aspects with land navigation. All right, when you look at this, you'll notice, look, 360 degrees. And translated, we know that 360 degrees is always where? North. Right? So, take a look at it. We have this position here, same thing, 360. South, we're at approximately 180 degrees. If I'm over here at west, I'm 270. If I'm here at east, I'm 90. It's all the same. And so your direction of travel follow is going to be through these green little markings right here and right here. Okay, and you'll adjust that for basis of travel in the future when you're calculating. But for right now, the important takeaway is align everything to magnetic north. All right, and then you make your changes from there. Notice this thing turns. So instead of having a bezel, you can turn the whole unit around. But what doesn't change, I mean, it'll mix up and go back to it, is magnetic north will settle back. And you'll see it rotate till it grabs it. Now, it is worth noting that, again, magnetic north is not true north. There is a slight deviation due to some of the Earth's magnetic fields and where the pole sits, and we'll go over that more later. But for right now, I wanted to get our feet wet with just some knowledge and some components on the face of the compass so that we don't get too much information going at once. So that's a wrap for the compass component this evening. I hope that gave you some basic knowledge, and we will build on it from there. Well, that wraps up this episode of Waypoint ADV-USA. I hope you found that the cardinal directions link to the degrees, and then, of course, the degree circle linking to the compass. And I hope you found it helpful for some of the basics. And again, these are very basic concepts, but very important building blocks. I hope that as we build this, it can help take you places because, as you heard me say before, navigation creates freedom. If you like it, please hit the subscribe and like button. Helps me grow the channel. With that being said, we'll see you next time. Plan smarter, travel farther. Create your next waypoint.